Всем добрый вечер, очень приятно вас видеть, ну, не видеть, но видеть, что вы здесь сегодня. Меня зовут Нина Вересова, я дизайнер одежды и текстиля, художница, исследовательница и преподаватель и куратор кучи программ в Британке, в том числе дизайн одежды и текстиля, дизайн текстиля, foundation art and design и прочих других. Я сегодня буду выступать в качестве модератора и представлю нам наших гостей. С нами сегодня Арианна Мереу, профессор института Polimoda и профессионал в прогнозировании тенденций, стратегическом предвидении, креативный менеджер проектов и лектор. Арианна помогает брендам в запуске продуктов, прогнозирует идеальное место и время, использует свои знания в сфере креативного менеджмента и непрерывный поиск новых решений. Арианна учитывает социально-культурные изменения в обществе, которые влияют на потенциальных и актуальных покупателей. В целом можно сказать, что Арианна королева sustainability и знает об этом все. Ее экспертиза для нас будет очень важна. Также с нами сегодня Алина Дубова, специалист по международному развитию института Polimoda. Она нам расскажет сегодня про институт и про возможности, что там можно делать и какой он классный. Вот. Тема нашей сегодняшней беседы – это устойчивое развитие в моде. И мы сегодня разберем по косточкам то, что такое sustainability, что такое greenwashing, какие технологии и инновации мы используем в моде и текстиле сегодня, и какой уровень устойчивости в России и за рубежом. У нас будет возможность сравнить разные опыты и примерить их на себя и посмотреть, что же с этим можно еще сделать. Вначале я дам слово Алине. Алина.
Да, спасибо, Нина, за представление. Я еще раз представлюсь. Добрый вечер. Меня зовут Алина Дубова, и, как уже озвучила Нина, я специалист по международному развитию в институте Polimoda. И сегодня, чтобы начать, я бы хотела немного познакомить вас с реальностью нашего университета и рассказать вам о том, чем же мы занимаемся. Итак, Polimoda. Polimoda находится во Флоренции. Флоренция и Polimoda – это две части одного целого, потому что Polimoda нельзя представить без Флоренции, а Флоренцию уже нельзя представить без Polimoda. И где, как не здесь, изучать моду, и где, как не здесь, изучать ремесло, создание модных продуктов, модных аксессуаров и так далее. Потому что принято говорить, что Милан – столица моды, но на самом деле мы во Флоренции говорим, что столица моды – это Флоренция, потому что она окружена центрами производства таких брендов, как Gucci, Salvatore Ferragamo, брендов группы Louis Vuitton и других. То есть здесь истинная столица производства модных аксессуаров, модных сумок и модной обуви. И мы находимся именно здесь, во Флоренции. О чем Polimoda? Чем она отличается от остальных университетов? В Polimoda ищут таланты. Здесь не ищут готовых специалистов, специалистами становятся после выпуска. Но главное при поступлении в Polimoda – это быть талантливым, быть креативным и иметь свой собственный стиль. Это самая важная часть, и мы так и говорим про себя, что мы даже не университет, а хаб креативных людей, креативных талантов, где в нашем университете обучается более 2000 человек из всех стран мира, и все они взаимодействуют друг с другом, передавая друг другу свой опыт, свой уникальное видение мира, и это, конечно, не может не влиять на их финальные произведения, финальные результат работы, потому что у нас здесь царит тотально интернациональная атмосфера. Рассказывая о менеджменте нашего института, Ну, конечно, в первую очередь это Ferruccio Ferragamo. Я думаю, что все знакомы с итальянским брендом Salvatore Ferragamo. Так вот, Ferruccio Ferragamo является сыном основателя компании, и он, как никто другой, знает о том, как создается мода. Бренд родился здесь, в Тоскане, во Флоренции. Здесь также есть музей Salvatore Ferragamo. И Polimoda неразрывно связана с этим брендом, и мы очень гордимся этой связью, потому что это корни, можно сказать, итальянской моды, и мы к ним непосредственно причастны. Массимилиано Джорнетти – это наш директор. Начать стоит с того, что Массимилиано сам выпускник Polimoda, и здесь заходит уже разговор о наших самых знаменитых выпускниках. Так вот, один из них – это Массимилиано. До того, как вступить на пост директора Polimoda, он в течение 17 лет возглавлял пост креативного директора марки Salvatore Ferragamo, то есть он знает также, как создается мода, и он имеет в этой среде колоссальный опыт, он узнаваемый, знаменит в модных кругах. Он также был номинирован как «Человек года» по версии GQ, и мы гордимся нашим директором тоже, потому что такое руководство позволяет нам быть успешным в том, чем мы занимаемся. И Линда Лоппа – это наш адвайзер по стратегии и развитию бренда Polimoda, потому что мы не только университет, мы также и бренд. У нее есть опыт в модной сфере в течение 25 лет, и она являлась наставником таких именитых дизайнеров, как Раф Симмонс, Мартин Манджело, Дрис Ван Нотем и Демна Гвансале. Как вы видите, у руля нашего корабля стоят не просто сильные капитаны, а, так сказать, мастера своего дела. Наша история, она началась во Флоренции в 1986 году, и мы Флорентийский университет, и мы находимся только здесь. То есть наша понимание моды таково, что моду невозможно изучать так эффективно, как во Флоренции, как я уже сказала, месте, которое сосредоточило в себе очень много модных центров производства, и мы исключительно флорентийский университет с исключительно итальянской историей, и мы находимся только здесь, поэтому ждем вас во Флоренции. Чем мы занимаемся? Сейчас расскажу немного о наших факультетах, курсах и наших партнерствах. Polimoda имеет два ключевых направления в обучении. Это направление бизнес и направление дизайн. То есть все, что связано с креативным направлением, это факультеты дизайна. И все, что связано с бизнесом, это отделение бизнес, соответственно. Мы гордимся своей широкой сетью партнерства. Мы сотрудничаем с очень многими модными брендами, которые вы видите сейчас на экране. Это и Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Salvatore Ferragamo, Tots, Vogue Italia. Наши последние коллаборации с Организацией Объединенных Наций и также с Microsoft Garage. Мы хотим объять не только моду в ее качестве, как продукция одежды, продукция аксессуаров, но также в ее глубокой философии, потому что мода – это не только одежда, это еще и наша история, и, конечно же, она неразрывна с ценностями, например, тех же Организаций Объединенных Наций. У нас также присутствует программа mentorship. Mentorship – это профессионалы своего дела, которые в непрерывном контакте с нашими студентами, и это, конечно, помогает извлечь из учебы максимум пользы. Вы видите здесь несколько имен, это очень знаковые имена, например, Тим Блэнкс, он редактор издания Business of Fashion, Крис Ванаш, он был в течение с 2008 по 2017 год креативным директором Dior Home, также Каролин Исса и другие имена, которые вы видите. Менторшип – это те люди из индустрии, которые присутствуют и которые находятся в постоянном контакте с нашими студентами. И это, конечно, помогает им не только узнать о моде теоретически, но также получить очень много практических знаний именно непосредственно от профессионалов своего дела, которые в настоящее время занимают очень значимые посты в индустрии. У нас есть несколько типов курсов. Это undergraduate, это образование, которое можно получить после школы, после 11 класса. Master courses – это те курсы, которые идут за undergraduate, то есть это уже ступень выше. И seasonal courses – это короткие курсы, которые, возможно, дадут вам возможность почувствовать Италию, поучиться в нашем институте. Они длятся месяц, 2 месяца, то есть это достаточно короткие курсы, но, тем не менее, они очень эффективны. Что касается программ undergraduate, они имеют разную длительность, от 2 до 4 лет. Чем мы гордимся, это возможностью 3-месячной стажировки, она гарантирована всем нашим выпускникам после обучения. Это стажировка в индустрии. Мы опять-таки используем нашу обширную сеть связей, чтобы гарантировать всем нашим выпускникам интересную стажировку, которая, возможно, потом может завершиться как предложение о работе. Это что касается программ undergraduate. Master courses, они предназначены для уже людей, которые находятся в ступени выше, которые хотят свои знания в моде углубить. Мы имеем здесь 3 программы. Это Fashion Design, Fashion Business и Art Direction. Все программы, они интенсивные, и опять-таки мы очень делаем большой упор на практическую часть. То есть в занятия входит не только теория, но также общение именно с профессионалами своего дела. И seasonal courses, как я уже сказала, это короткие программы, которые пригодятся тем, кто хочет, возможно, какую-то часть, то есть начать свое обучение, но пока не решился на какую-то программу длительную, или же хочет углубить свои знания в секторе. Это тоже отлично подходит. Как я уже сказала, у нас очень много связей, именно дружбы и партнерств с различными индустриями. Мы этим очень гордимся, используем их активно в трудоустройстве наших выпускников. Applied Project – еще одна важная часть нашей работы. Она заключается в том, что студенты в течение года реализуют свои проекты, получают брифы непосредственно от компаний. То есть вы в процессе обучения можете не просто работать над теоретическим важным проектом, а над проектом реально значимым для индустрии, для компаний. То есть это также очень полезно для портфолио, потому что потом вы можете включить ваши работы в портфолио, и они будут иметь совсем другой вес, нежели как проекты, которые, возможно, не были связаны с индустрией непосредственно. И мы также предлагаем профессиональные программы, это tailor-made courses, которые предназначены для профессионалов, для тех, кто уже работает в индустрии, как тех людей, кто хотят углубить свои знания. Мы разрабатываем программы конкретно под запрос, и тоже есть такая возможность. Это небольшая страничка о том, что говорят о нас медиа, Forbes, Fashion Network, Fashionista, Vogue America, Vogue United Kingdom. То есть мы достаточно известны на международной арене, на мировом уровне, и мы тоже очень этим гордимся. Сейчас я хотела бы вам продемонстрировать то, что я сказала. Лучше один раз увидеть, чем 100 раз услышать, поэтому предлагаю вам посмотреть небольшое видео. небольшое пояснение, то есть все, что вы видели на видео, мы имеем 3 локации во Флоренции. Первая – это историческая вилла в центре Флоренции, вилла Фавар, и 2 других кампуса, где непосредственно наши студенты занимаются производством одежды, реализацией своих креативных идей. Один кампус находится в Скандичи, это совсем рядом с производством Гуччи, Луи Виттона, то, о чем я говорила в начале, и другой кампус — это манифактура табаки, там также очень много машин и оснащения для реализации самых креативных, порой даже самых безумных идей наших студентов. Это была презентация Polimoda, следите за нами в наших социальных сетях, и я с радостью могу передать слово Арианне.
Я немножечко впрыгну, если...
Да, конечно, Нина.
Да, спасибо большое за такую прекрасную презентацию, потрясающее видео, очень приятно было смотреть. Сейчас мы переключаемся на английский язык. Я напомню, что у вас есть иконочка с глобусом, которая поможет вам получить перевод, если он вам нужен. Также, если по ходу выступления, по ходу нашей беседы у вас возникают вопросы, которые вы хотите задать, то, пожалуйста, не стесняйтесь, мы будем очень рады на них ответить в конце, после беседы. Пишите их, мы все видим, с удовольствием с вами поболтаем, не стесняйтесь. Арианна, the floor is yours. The microphone is off. Arianna, your microphone is off. Yep.
Okay, here I am. Sorry. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. It's been really a pleasure for me. So thank you also, Nina, for introducing me before. So now I feel like I can share my screen. Okay. And switch to my presentation. So I would also like to acknowledge and thank Sasha for the fantastic job of the simultaneous translation. So it must be said. So welcome today. As Nina just said, please don't be shy with any questions you may have. Or just write it in the chat and then we will discuss your questions and curiosities. So Nina already introduced me, but I would like to just quickly tell you again, I am a professor, first of all, of trend forecasting, strategic foresight, visual language, and marketing ethics, which connects to what we're going to talk about today, sustainability. I'm teaching at Polimoda and Polimoda only, but I am a teacher since 10 years now. Also, as all the Polimoda professors, I'm not only a professor, but I have my own other job, okay, as a consultant and working in the fashion industry for nearly 20 years now. And I work as a trends and innovation consultant for fashion and also beauty companies, trying to align the companies to the current market trends. And talking about trends and talking about the future is unavoidable to talk about sustainability, of course. So since 2019, I am the sustainability manager for Pitti Filati, which is a very important fair that takes place in Florence twice a year about yarns for knitwear. And for this fair, my task is coordinate the work of something like 50 spinning mills to create an area where they exhibit their most innovative and sustainable proposals. So this is me in a nutshell. So let's start with our conversation today. And the first question that we must ask ourselves is, what is sustainability? So, well, if you go on the dictionary, actually, we see the definition of sustainability is the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. So the concept of balance is inherent in sustainability. And this is a very important idea. But when we talk about sustainability in fashion, what we think about is actually concepts like these most of the times. So like reduce, reuse, and recycle, for example, or bio-based and organic materials. And we are going actually to also cover a little bit the topic of the innovative materials later, like vegan alternatives to leather and fur for animal welfare concerns, but also for like the carbon emissions related to the leather and fur industry. The concept of upcycling or some protocols on chemicals to regulate, for example, the dyes that are used, the colors that are used in the fashion industry that are very, very polluting, especially if not regulated by specific protocols, as we're saying. So these are just some of the ideas and some of the concepts that we relate to sustainability when we think about fashion, but it's only one side of the matter. So sustainability is an umbrella term. It's a very big term that encompasses a lot of concepts. Now I'm going to show you this image. I don't know if you've ever seen it, if you're familiar with it, but basically this is an image representing Rana Plaza, which was a building in Bangladesh that completely collapsed in 2013. And inside this building, there were a lot of people working for fashion brands. And in the collapse of the building, over 1,000 people were killed and over 2,500 were injured. Most of these people were young women. It was the fourth biggest industrial disaster in history. So not only for the fashion industry, but in general, in the global industry. And it really resonated with the public opinion because it soon came out that many Western world, let's say, brands were producing their collections inside this building. And when the brands were asked, how is it possible that you're making your clothes in such, poor conditions? All of these brands said, oh, but we didn't know. And you know what? The strange thing is that they were not lying, actually. So this really shed a very sinister light on the fashion supply chains. And how is it possible, I mean, that a brand doesn't know where the garments are produced? But actually, very often it happens that a brand makes an agreement with a contractor, so with a company that is most of the time located in another country, in a far country, where the condition of the work are more permissive or cheaper. And this agreement is then broken in a lot of subcontracts with a lot of subcontractors. So the main brand, let's say, loses track of where the garments are produced because they have only one contract with a very big company of Bangladesh, let's say, and then this very big Bangladesh company gives the work to do to so many other smaller companies, and these smaller companies give the work to other smaller companies, and so on and so on and so on. So they lose a trace of where the garments are actually produced until something like this, something tragic happens, and everybody's like, oh no, it's not my fault, I didn't know. Okay, so this is really dealing a lot with another concept, which is part of sustainability and is as important as environmental sustainability, which is the concept of social sustainability. So we have to understand that there are people that are making our clothes, and these people are not always, let's say, treated very well. So, for example, that there is when a person works, that person gets paid, and the minimum that person can be paid according to the job laws of the country where they're working, it's called the minimum wage. So the minimum wage is the minimum amount that you can pay a worker in that country. Now, the minimum wage most of the time is not sufficient to cover the basic needs of people, basic needs, including like food or health, not health like a heart transplant, okay, health like buying some band-aids if you cut your finger, okay, so very, very basic health needs, tissues. The minimum wage is not enough. The wage that would be enough to cover the basic needs of a worker is called a fair wage, a living wage or a fair wage. So this is the difference in some countries, the difference between the minimum wage and the living wage is very, very big. So you see that in Bangladesh, for example, now I will say that the quotations in euros because it makes it more, makes it easier for me. But in Bangladesh, the minimum wage for a worker is 59 euros a month, while the living wage would be nearly 400 euros a month. So it's still very low for European standards, let's say, but the difference is it's big. And it can make the difference between, you know, affording very, very basic needs for your families or not affording them. So for example, one basic need which is covered by the living wage and it's not covered by the minimum wage is the need for housing. So what happens is that people cannot afford to pay a rent, not even for a shared room. And many workers in the supplying countries live in the working premises. So they live in the factories. And this is basically what happened in the Rana Plaza. So many people were in the building also because they were living in the buildings. They sleep there, they cook there in very unsafe conditions. So I want to ask you the first question of the day, let's say, to open a conversation. So this is the, let's say, cost breakdown of a standard 29 euros t-shirt, which is a very typical price of fast fashion, for example, I don't know, Zara, H&M, or Mango, I don't know, any other brand for fast fashion. So you see that the cost, the final cost of the t-shirt is made by many voices, no? There is the cost of the materials, of course, the cost of manufacturing, the cost of transport, the brand margin, and the retail markup that you see make most of the price. And then there is the price of labor. So the price of labor on a 29 euros t-shirt would be 0.18 euros. So this, let's say that this 29 euros t-shirt is a t-shirt that was made paying to the worker a minimum wage. So my question is, how much more would the t-shirt cost if the workers were paid a living wage, in your opinion? Let's try to guess the price. So let's say the normal, the minimum wage t-shirt would cost 29, but if I paid the workers the living wage, so a fair wage, how much would the t-shirt cost in the end? Try to guess.
You can write in rubles so I can convert.
Let's try to at least try to make it interactive. Okay.
Okay, Azalia is suggesting plus 150%. Anna plus 100%. Claudia 40 euro. 32 euro. 100 euro. 60. I'm feeling like we're an auctioning.
Okay.
100 plus euro. 22.
Yeah, so, I mean, it comes, yeah, thank you for your guesses. Like, it comes natural for us to think that, I mean, it would make quite a big difference, no? Actually, this would be the change in retail price. Only €1.57 more. And this is shocking, no, if you think about it, because if you like the t-shirt, you would buy it for 29, but you would also buy it for, let's say it's €2 more. Now let's round it up to €2, okay? You would also buy it for 31. So the question is, why are fashion brands not paying a living wage to the workers if people would buy that t-shirt anyway. And you know, those €2 of difference are a small thing for the average consumer, let's say, that already has in their mind, I'm gonna buy that t-shirt, but make a lot of difference for the people that are working there, that are just people as you and I, no? So like with the same needs that we have. So why are brands not paying? Because okay, the other thing is fashion brands, and in particular fast fashion brands, are not paying a living wage to the workers. It's just a matter of numbers. So now you see that if we give the living wage to the workers, the cost of labor would pass from 0.18 to 0.45, so more than double. So a brand, just multiply it for the volumes, okay, that these brands produce. So for a brand, it would mean to more than double a voice of cost that they can absolutely not touch, because consumers are, let's say, happily unaware of these matters, and they are buying the t-shirts anyway. So as a brand, why should I more than double a cost if I have the option of not doing it?
People in chat are like very surprised by this information, and they blame the local businessmen.
It's a systemic problem, actually. Like, okay, in the end, the decision is of the local businessman. I agree. Like, our companies are made of people also in the decisional roles, no? So it's a personal decision in the end, but it's really a systemic problem. So sustainability is a very complex matter. And what we see often is brands that are actually not very sustainable, just acting sustainable, talking about the easiest way to be sustainable. So for example, saying, oh, look, we are using some recycled fibers in our collection, so we are sustainable. But they don't say, for example, where the garments are produced or if the workers are paid fairly, no? So, and also this is sustainability, no? Because it's making the whole system very unsustainable for the planet, no? And for living a good life for everybody. So I'll just go on regarding exactly this topic, that, you know, sometimes companies lie, okay, brands lie. And this lying, in particular about sustainability, is called greenwashing. It's a term you're probably already familiar with. It means exaggerate positive contributions to ethical and sustainable fashion, use manipulative and misleading terminology and imagery. Also, only the imagery sometimes is enough to greenwash. And we'll see several examples of this. Distract from the ongoing mass production of fast fashion garments. So now, what is really, really unsustainable? So let's say like this, the only real sustainable thing that you can do is buy less, okay? Because the real problem of sustainability nowadays is the overproduction of unnecessary things.
Can I straight away jump in, Arianna?
Yes.
Buy less is a great advice for a consumer, but here at Britanka, at Polimoda, we are designers. And what's the best advice for designers to be more sustainable?
That's a great question, Nina. I think that designers are also the shapers of the future, no? And not, as Alina said before, fashion is not only about clothes. Fashion is about culture, it's about society. It's about questioning ourselves about why we need certain things in a certain moment. No, and this is the trend forecaster in me that is also speaking, no? Because I mean, my part of my job is understanding. It's like anticipating the needs of consumers. So trying and anticipate the way they think and the desires that they may have in the future. So it's not that because today we are consuming in a certain way, or we are buying so much fast fashion, for example, that necessarily this is going to be the future for the fashion industry. So I think that a designer, before designing what to design, so what shape, what fabric, what color, etc., I think that the real role of the designer would be to sit a second and think about why should I design something, no? And how can I change the way people behave in relation to fashion? So, for example, we will see also some examples of it. I think that a very important practical answer that I can give to this question is that the designers of the future will have to think about design of goods, thinking already about the afterlife of the garments, not only the look of the garments. So if the garments at the end of its life cycle that we wish to be as long as possible, so also designing for durability of goods, not only for like disposable things, what happens at the end of the life of these garments? So how can we dispose of it? How can we really recycle? How can we reuse it in a way that is cost efficient, energy efficient, and clean for the planet? Like that is a challenge, but I think it's a must do for the designers of today. And it's a big difference compared to how design used to be done in the past decades, for example.
Thank you. I will return to that question later, but let's look at those who don't think about it.
Okay. If in the meantime, if there are any questions or interactions, just feel free. So let's go with the greenwashing. Okay, and let's see all the evil things that companies are doing. So I just gave you the definition of it, and I just want to make some examples. I'm sorry, I'm going to do some naming and shaming during this presentation, so showing also the names of the brands, but it's like not only necessary, but unavoidable. So you will see who I'm talking about. So, for example, these are some shop windows of H&M, and these windows say, join in a global fashion movement for the planet. And then there is a logo of the World Recycle Week. And then you know that in H&M, if you bring back any unwanted, let's say, textile waste, so not necessarily a garment and not necessarily not even something that you bought at H&M, but just all the clothes. It could be also an old towel, bed sheet, whatever. They give you a 15% off the next purchase. Apparently, it's very green. Actually, it's very greenwashing. So it's join in a global fashion movement for the planet. This is quite exaggerate, okay? Exaggerating positive contribution to ethical and sustainable fashion. We would like to know better how H&M is joining this global fashion movement for the planet. It's very vague, like it sounds very nice, but what are you actually doing? Well, we're doing the World Recycle Week. What is it? Okay, so I've never heard about it. I did a bit of research, and that actually doesn't exist. So it's like a marketing invention of H&M to, let's say, attract consumers in shop during that week with special offers. And the idea of giving you an incentive, okay, to buy more in exchange of some old clothes, is actually distracting you from the idea that the best option is not to buy some other clothes that you probably don't need, and specifically fast fashion clothes. So yes, the purpose behind it is always the same. Now keep you buying rather than being really sustainable. So greenwashing is a practice that didn't start in fashion. It started some decades ago now, and as many trends, we can say, because greenwashing is unfortunately a trend, even if it's a bad one, it originated outside of fashion. The first companies to do greenwashing were household and cleaning products companies. So just changing the colors of the packaging of some detergents or cleaning products to white and green would make them immediately look more sustainable. I would just put a tree, some flowers, some green, some drops of fresh water, and we pass from the classic aesthetic of the performance aggressive product to the aesthetic of the delicate, sustainable and green product. But if you read the formula of the products, nothing changed. They also use some very generic terms. So for example, on the product on the bottom right corner, you see nature, no? Nature suggesting you that the product is sustainable, but they didn't write that the product is certified sustainable or anything like that. Just the word nature, that doesn't mean anything. Then another thing, for example, McDonald's, I don't know, actually I'm curious, is it red and yellow in Russia, or is it green and yellow?
We don't have McDonald's anymore. So
we don't, you don't have it anymore,
they
right?
left, yeah, but it was both actually before. There were like regular McDonald's, like
more red, I would say, no?
Yeah, but some of them started rebranding, putting wood inside and being greener.
Because in many, let's say, European countries here, they made a complete rebranding, and they rebranded the logo and the appearance of the restaurants into green and yellow, without really changing the recipes or the quality of the ingredients, but just changing the appearance of the logo, while in America it's still red and yellow. Red and yellow is a color combination that we associate to juicy, satisfying, savory, etc., while green gives you the idea of freshness now and healthy. So they really changed it for this purpose. So sometimes greenwashing is very subtle, it's very difficult to spot. So how can we spot greenwashing? Well, there are 6 sins of greenwashing. So there are 6 signs that can tell us that a company is greenwashing: no proof, vagueness, fibbing, hidden trade-off, irrelevance, and the lesser of 2 evils. So now I will show you quickly all of them, and it will be like surprising, I think, for some of you. So no proof. We just told about it, no? So no proof is when an environmental claim is not supported by easily accessible data. So H&M is carrying on this campaign, but not only H&M, a lot of brands actually are doing it, at least here. But then you don't know anything about what happens actually to your clothes. So you just bring the clothes to the shop, you get your discount, but then what do they recycle? How do they do that? It's very, very difficult, you know, to recycle clothes, because, for example, if a fiber is blended with another fiber, so for example, if you have 80% wool, 20 acrylic, it's virtually impossible to recycle that garment. So you can only recycle pure fibers. Then a garment is made by so many things that are not the fabric only, the buttons, the zippers, the labels, the thread itself that is used to sew the garment. So that's very, very tricky to recycle clothes. So how do they do that? And which percentage of the things that they get is actually recycled? And to do what? Like so many questions that don't have any answer. So there is no proof.
Actually, I also want to jump in about this recycling campaign. So here in Moscow, there was an investigation. So a person put a GPS tag inside of the bag, which they gave to H&M for this discount. And the fun thing, not fun, sad thing, was that this bag traveled a lot through Russia and like a lot through Siberia, then came like near China, then came back, and eventually the bag appeared back in Moscow, but in some second-hand shop. So, but before that, it traveled.
So like the carbon footprint of those clothes is like...
Yes, exactly, but for no reason. So probably I'm assuming that it's sorted somewhere else outside of Moscow, but the question is why, because it can be done here.
Yeah, absolutely. So like there are so many nonsense things, and companies are absolutely non-transparent about these kind of things. If you read the CSR page, so the corporate social responsibility page of these brands, of fast fashion brands, they look like the most sustainable company in the world, all of them. The second sin is vagueness. When you use a word which is so poorly defined and broad that the purpose of the use of that word is to create an image in the mind of the consumer, which is a positive image. But all these words like conscious, eco-friendly, sustainable, recyclable, biodegradable, cruelty-free, non-toxic, chemical-free, all natural, all these definitions and so many others are not regulated by any law. So I can say that I make a sustainable collection, and I can write that my collection is sustainable everywhere, because the word sustainable is not regulated by any law. So what is sustainable and what is not depends on my personal concept of sustainability. Okay. I saw that Mango published on the website, they wrote 89% of our products have sustainable attributes. And by 2023, it will be 100%. I loved the statement, because sustainable attributes is such a subtle and clever way to say, well, I don't know, I did like polyester stuff, and then I don't know, sew the button of the jeans with organic cotton thread. And so, I mean, the jeans has some sustainable attribute, no? The button that I used to sew the thread that I used to sew the button. So, and by 2023, we will reach 100. This is another form of greenwashing, putting statements in future tense. That is a promise, it's not a fact. And you know, you can promise whatever, no? So when you see a sentence written, expressed in future tense, you have to say, okay, let's distinguish facts from promises, okay? Vagueness is also, for example, the use of the word organic. Organic only means carbon-based. So I'm organic, okay, I'm carbon-based, I'm a person, so I'm a living being. You have to look for certified organic, and these are some logos of certifications that can certify that some, for example, cotton is actually organic. And you know, organic cotton requires much less pesticides, less water. It is grown in a way which is more sustainable for the soil and for the workers as well. So it's quite important, the difference. And I would like you to focus on these logos, okay? Because later we will come back quickly to that. So the third scene is fibbing. Fibbing is blatant lying. Okay, so just saying that something is something that is not. False ecological statements. There was a scandal a couple of years ago. Gap launched a collection, a capsule collection of t-shirts in bamboo fiber, being bamboo quite a sustainable one. And well, it turns out it's cotton, just as false as that. So of course, Gap blamed the supplier of the fabric. The supplier of the fabric blamed the supplier of the yarn. The supplier of the yarn just got the money, okay, of the agreement of producing 1 million t-shirts for Gap, hid the money in some bank account at, I don't know, Cayman Islands or some of these places, and then said, oh, sorry, we made a mistake, but now the money is gone. Okay, so sometimes it's very, very profitable to just lie and hope that nobody notices. And when they notice, well, too late. And now the money is already invested somewhere else. This is my favorite. Hello, I'm paper bottle. Turns out.
That's amazing. That's fascinating.
Turns out it's not. No. Okay, so the hidden trade-off is even more subtle. So basically, it's when a claim suggests that a product is sustainable, focusing all your attention only on one small attribute of sustainability of that product or one single environmental attribute to distract you from the fact that that product is actually unsustainable for much bigger reasons. No? So, for example, this is a fun example. These are some diapers for babies. Okay, and from the packaging, you can already say, no, it's gonna be very, very sustainable. Like it's white and green, and there are little trees, and the name is Pure Protection because mothers care about protecting their babies. And then there are all these little logos. No, this is what I wanted you to focus on. So clinically proven hypoallergenic. That's an irrelevant information. Do you think it's possible to do diapers that are not clinically proven or that are allergenic? No, it's not. Okay, so of course they are clinically proven hypoallergenic. Like it's obvious. You must because you are obliged by the sanitary laws to test your products now before putting them on the market.
So they basically are saying that these diapers are diapers.
Exactly,
and they are proud
like
of
in so many different ways. Also 0% chlorine bleaching, and you're an average mom and you say, oh wow, they're not chlorine bleached, so I guess that chlorine bleaching was a bad thing. Well, okay, chlorine bleaching is a process that is banned on diapers, so you can't do that, and it's irrelevant that you write it, no? Then you have up to 12 hours of protection, which is not a sustainability attribute, it's a performance attribute. It's legit that you write it on a diaper's packaging. I mean, you want to say how your product is working. No? And then you have my favorite, which is cotton enhanced with a logo. Okay, you see there is this logo with the cotton flake and everything. So you, when we see something written in the form of a logo like that, or when you see something written around something else, no, it's more official to us, no? It looks more.
What does it mean that they have a little bit of cotton there, or
we have to ask Mr. Pampers because this is like it's graphic designer's decision, no? It's like please write design me a logo that is cottonish, okay? And it's okay, how could we call it? I don't know, cotton enhanced. Yeah, okay, nice. So it's probably like in these diapers there is like a small percentage of cotton fibers or something like that, but they don't say how much. They don't write these diapers are in cotton. They are cotton enhanced, whatever it means. But like this information is like supposed to make you think that these diapers are better, no, of the others.
That's
and
beautiful.
They are more sustainable. Yeah. And they are avoiding to talk about the real problem that whatever you put in a diaper, if it's a disposable diaper, is not going to be sustainable because disposable goods are polluting. No? So it's not biodegradable. They don't write that it biodegrades. They don't, talk about how to dispose of the diaper. No, they're only saying a lot of stuff that is distracting you from the real problem of this product that is not sustainable per se, because it is a disposable good that you have to trash in the general trash. No. Irrelevant is what we were saying before about the chlorine bleaching and the laboratory testing. So I don't know if you ever used some hair products like sprays or deodorants. No, you want to think about if you are making a hole in the ozone, for example, when you use it. No, so sometimes you find this logo, ozone friendly or no CFCs or something like that, but CFCs, which are the dangerous gases that damage the ozone layer of the earth, were banned over 30 years ago. So all products are CFC free. It's the same thing of like tested on animals, like not tested on animals for cosmetics, no? Okay, if you buy, there are some countries where it's still possible to test cosmetics on animals, but in the European Union, for example, it's illegal. So if you buy a European product, it's not tested on animals for sure, but they keep on writing it on the packaging because it creates in the mind of the consumer the idea that your company is better than the others, that just do not explicit something that is obvious. No? This is also the lesser of two evils. Now, when they say, okay, we are making a SUV, an SUV, now a Jeep with non-leather interiors. Okay, but what about the fuel consumption and the CO2 emissions of the car? Okay, that is the real sustainability that we have to talk about. So, lying or misrepresenting the facts about a product or service, according to a survey held in 2016 in the US on more than 20,000 people, is still considered to be the most damaging scenario for corporate reputation. So these brands are actually risking a lot, because I mean, when the consumers are aware of these things, they will just, the reputation of the brand will drop immediately. But they are becoming better and better in, let's say, hiding the truth, and also like playing with the unawareness and the general goodwill and ignorance, good ignorance, let's say, of people, good faith, no, of people. So this is something that I found extremely refreshing, actually. So this is the corporate social responsibility page of Ganni, a Scandinavian brand, and they say, we are not a sustainable brand. We don't identify as a sustainable brand. We recognize the inherent contradiction between the current fashion industry that thrives of newness and consumption and the concept of sustainability. That is very honest and straightforward. They go on saying that they acknowledge that sustainability is a process. Sustainability don't require a brand to just do, a capsule collection of recycled clothes, but to rethink the supply chain, the transparency of the communication, the volumes of goods that are produced. So many things, the people, the social aspects of the production. So they acknowledge that it is a long process, and they say, okay, we are in the process and we're doing our best. We are working on these points to start with, and then we will implement our sustainable behavior. So I think that this is like real honesty and transparency. Like, we're not expecting brands to become all Patagonia, from one day to another. So Patagonia are the best in class, we can say. But at least to not lie or misrepresent their behaviors, no?
Also, a question about this honesty. Do you think like smaller brands, obviously fast fashion brands cannot be sustainable in any way, but if you're a small brand and you're still using something which that cannot be recycled because that's what you can get, but you are doing like producing stuff on demand, made to measure, and all these little companies, they cannot be sustainable, but that's again lesser of the evils, or it's more aiming to go somewhere, or it's just economical issue because you cannot produce a lot?
No, I think it's a very good question. And actually, not personally, but in general, I think that the smaller the brand, the more sustainable probably it is already, because it produces less. So this is the point one of sustainability, producing less. So just to make an example, now Polimoda is going to partner with PT Filati with an installation made by the students inside the fair. And a lot of different departments are working on this project at the same time. It was fashion trend forecasting, fashion art direction, fashion sustainability, and fashion design, so all together. And without going too much into detail, but we asked the companies to give us, the yarn companies that are participating to the fair, to give us the materials for this exhibition that we're going to curate. And the focus of our exhibition is on sustainability. So we asked for sustainable yarns, but it turned out during a discussion also with the students that real sustainability is also giving a new life to something that it's not sustainable in it. No? So for example, I don't know, the polyester or whatever. Like, so we asked the companies to send us also the leftovers of the production, or to give us some very old articles that they have, some old yarns that are in the warehouses since, I don't know, 10 years forgotten in a corner. Okay, so to like use these materials so that they don't become textile waste. Okay, so I mean, sustainability is a very complex matter, and it's got many perspectives. So I think it can be really addressed in many different ways. The most important thing is that you address it honestly, no? So if you don't use sustainable materials, because maybe you are a small brand and you can't afford the certifications, okay, which are quite costly, but you keep a small production, you produce locally, you pay the workers a decent pay, if you manage your business in a good way, etc., you are still sustainable, and you can say, okay, I'm not 100%, no, but as Gani says here, it's a process. So I started from what is more possible for me, no?
I have another follow-up question, sorry. So from the business side, from the business point of view, as I understand, I don't know much about business, but the general goal of each business is to grow. But when small sustainable brand starts growing, they become less sustainable. So, but it's still a business, and the goal of the business is to earn money. And there is a large conflict there.
Yes, of course. And that's the thing that you guys, young people that are hearing here, you have to solve this puzzle. Okay, so no, the idea is what you say is true. Like profit, at the end of the day, a fashion company wants to make money and to make a profit and to grow. No, I hope that we'll find a way to scale from a small sustainable business to becoming a big sustainable business somehow. No, okay. So one option could be like to produce less but better. So like making collections that are made of more durable pieces that maybe can have a higher cost per piece, but having a longer life. So you don't need to have like big collections and buy something new every year. And as a company, you still make a profit because the pieces that you sell are more costly because they are more durable. And this also would require a complete switch of mentality, no? Ditching the idea of having to buy continuously something new to look cool. So that would require really a mindset change. And also what I said before, so the idea of designing collections with in mind how to solve the sustainable, like the impact, okay, of the clothing at the end of the life. So you can still be big and be sustainable as far as you don't think only about making money in the present and seizing the moment, but you also think about the impact of what you're doing, to compensate somehow this impact. So this, I think, it's my solution for the moment.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds reasonable. But a puzzle, I like the word.
But actually, yeah. Actually, the next question is how can we be more sustainable? So we just spoke about fast fashion a lot, and fast fashion is not very sustainable as it is, since it it takes only 25 days from sketch to having something in a store, and the numbers of fast fashion are crazy. If you think that Shein, the Chinese giant of fast fashion, is making 300,000 garments every day, not only garments, also accessories and everything. So it is like over 100 million new garments a year, and this is only Shein. Then we have Mango, H&M, Zara, So think how many fabrics and textiles are produced, and this is actually becoming a problem for the planet, just because of what we said before. It's impossible to recycle most of them. And so in some areas of the planet, they are creating these actual textile mountains in Africa, in Chile, the desert of Atacama, which is a beautiful natural place, is becoming textile landfill. And this is what happens to the textile waste that we have. So it is collected in these giant balls, okay, of fabric, which are called mitumba, because most of the times they are sent to Africa. And we would think that they are, I don't know, used by the poor people. So we're doing like donating these things. No, okay, less than 1% is put in circle and resold in the local markets in Africa. Most of them finishes like this. So fast fashion has a very high cost, but we are not paying for it. No, we're just very good at hiding the dust under the carpet and then walk away without looking. Just think that only just 1% of the fabrics that we throw away is recycled. The remaining 99% ends in landfills or partly is incinerated. And according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation report, and I encourage you to follow their website, where you can also download for free their reports about sustainability in fashion, which are very, very serious and enlightening. At this rate, by 2015, the fashion industry will consume a quarter of the global fossil fuel budget. So thinking also about the times that we're living in, no, of energy crisis, etc., this is really, really like scary. So how can we solve this puzzle? As I said, well, rethinking consumption and thinking circular instead of linear. So instead of making, using, and throwing away, we have to find a way to making, using, reusing, reusing, reusing. Then at the end of the life, the garment can become the beginning of the cycle for something new. And these, from a design perspective, would include the idea of alternative business models, design strategies for long life, reduce the environmental impact, design for remanufacturing and recycling, and end-of-life collection systems. So it's very important. For example, Napapiri is a brand that is doing something similar. They did a jacket, not only a jacket, but a series of garments, the circular series, which is completely made of nylon. And not only the jacket, but also the zippers, the buttons, all the accessories and everything that composes the jacket is in nylon. So it's a mono material jacket, so that it's very easy at the end of the life to transform it in raw material again and start a new circle. Extending the life of clothing by an extra 9 months, reduce carbon waste and water footprints by around 20-30% each. So deciding to keep our garments for longer is a very sustainable thing. And this is also the concept at the base of this Spanish brand, Adolfo Dominguez, that a couple of years ago made all their campaign asking the consumers to send back to the company the garments that they had, the old garments of the brand. Some of them were 30, 40, 50-year-old, because it was the celebration of the 50 years of the company. And they reshoot all the campaign using only old garments, so to like highlight the durability of their collections. Another option is to use second-hand market, no? So like the Vinted or Vestiaire Collective, giving your wardrobe a second life. And this is really becoming the new luxury also, because I see at Polimoda, everybody's using these apps either to sell or buy clothes. And it's also like fostering this kind of curatorial approach, collector's approach to the wardrobe. Oh, I want to buy a Prada 2012, no, something like that. So it's very, very interesting, changing the mindset of the consumers. or mending our clothes, for example, repairing instead of throwing away. This is a company, Mending for Good, which is specializing in giving new value to fashion waste. Materials are very important for sustainability. We said it's not the only attribute for sustainability, but it's a very important one. So, for example, Stella McCartney is a very sustainable brand and won already in 2017 for the first time the gold level for its wool yarn by Cradle to Cradle, which is a certification that certifies the sustainability of materials. Because we have to think that when we think about natural fibers, natural materials, maybe we think about cotton, for example. Well, cotton, if it's not certified organic, it's not very sustainable. Cotton is a plant that causes a lot of soil erosion, soil degradation. You need 20,000 liters of water per kilo. And you have to use a lot of pesticides, and it causes a lot of water contamination. And most of the times, cotton is grown in countries where people are working in these conditions, breathing the chemicals that they use to treat the cotton. So not all natural fibers are synonym with green, and not all recycled materials are synonym with good. So depends on who is doing the recycling. So in terms of materials, I'll just give you a quick overview on different innovations. You can have innovative and sustainable materials that come from textile waste, some that come from waste of other industries. So for example, from the food industry, some materials that are grown in lab, and some alternative cultures. So from the textile waste, well, Polimoda is very close, Florence is very close to the city of Prato, and Prato is a city where they invented the idea of recycled wool and recycled fabrics. So this is a cenciaiolo, which means a rag trader in Prato already in the 1920s, and these are the rag traders of nowadays. So there are still industries that are specializing in separating the fabrics by fiber and by color, and then generating regenerated fabrics by these scraps of fabrics. So for example, this is a company that is making yarn for knitwear using jeans. And it's very interesting because you have a naturally blue yarn that doesn't require any new dye. And you just make a mechanical process to obtain the yarn. No? So you triturate the denim, and then you create a yarn out of it that you can knit into a sweater, like that. About fabrics and materials coming from the food industry, we have a lot of examples. One of those is Piñatex, which is a vegan leather that comes from the leaves of the pineapple, so from the part that you can't eat. So it's a waste subproduct of the food industry. The fibers are extracted, they are put on a non-woven textile, and then it becomes a material similar to leather. It's a leather alternative.
Actually, I recently had a question about this waste fabrics, and the question, yeah, I was confused very much how to answer it. So, isn't this process of extracting fiber and chemical processes that are applied to the fiber, are they actually sustainable, or we also need lots of chemicals there? Because my favorite out of all those is crab tex that is made out of crab shells. That's just fun to think.
Yes.
We are wearing a crab, but the chemicals and the process.
It's controversial, actually, Nina. I read an article about it just a couple of days ago that they made like a chemical analysis on all these leather alternatives and other materials, and they found a lot of formaldehyde and other chemicals that are not good. So let's start from one point, which is complete sustainability is not attainable, okay, in general. Just because we breathe on this planet, we emit CO2, we are polluting the planet as people. No? So I think like it's a matter of understanding what is the level of impact, no? And the leather industry is a very controversial one, but well, not only for animalistic reasons, no, like an animal is killed in the food industry and then the leather is a byproduct of the food industry already. So it's not that cows are killed for the leather industry, but other animals, yes. Okay, so like all the exotic leathers like alligators, etc., etc., crocodiles. And yeah, no, the idea is also that leather is treated with metals like chrome, like other, even if now there are chrome-free alternatives, but still very polluting. So like the output of the leather industry is by far the most polluting ever of all the manufacturing industries. So it requires a lot of costly technologies to epurate the waters, the wastewaters of the leather industry, and most of the times, especially in some countries, it's not done. Okay, and so it's leading to very, very high cancer rates around the tanneries and around the leather districts, but not only, also for the users of the leather goods. So as much as the chemical processes to obtain these alternatives can involve some chemicals, of course, to like fix the fibers, etc., they will never be as polluting and as dangerous as the leather products for the moment.
And that's a perfect argument. Thank you.
Then we have orange fiber that comes from the peels of citrus, so from the citrus waste of the food industry, and it gives like a fiber which is very similar to silk. And then we have Milo. I have a very short video, but I would prefer to...
This is Milo. It's mushroom leather. Stella McCartney is the first fashion house to use Milo to make clothing. Milo is vegan, made from infinitely renewable mycelium. That's the root system of mushrooms, created in partnership with our long-term collaborator Bolt Threads. It's remarkably realistic without being plastic, with much fewer environmental impacts, saving animals and Mother Earth. While these pieces are not for sale, they are a step toward the future of fashion.
Okay, so the radical part of the mushrooms to create this leather, and this was made with Stella McCartney. Just think that there is also a fabric fiber, which is called mycotex, obtained by mushrooms. And this is the different water consumption for cotton and for mycotex to be made. So yes, here it is, the Milo. And the alternative cultures, why don't we cultivate in water, since like our planet is made by 70% water. So for example, sea cell is a fiber, which is a cellulosic fiber from algae, from seaweed. And of course, you don't need land to cultivate or water to water the plants because they already grow on the water. So it's very, very interesting fiber. Or nettle fabric. So nettle is a plant that is a pest. It grows without irrigation. It grows everywhere, also on rocks. It doesn't require much water. So it can be mechanically processed into a fiber without chemicals, without water. And the fiber that you obtain is very resistant. It's very similar to silk, but it's as strong as linen. So it's very, very interesting. And originally, nettle fabrics were very popular in Europe, but then they were replaced by cotton. And they are still used in Nepal, in some areas of the India. Okay, so this is my last slide. So this is what you actually can do to be more sustainable. You can buy less and keep for longer. You can support emerging sustainable brands instead of buying only by big ones or fast fashion, and supporting artisans, including the people that can repair the clothes. And you can write to your policymakers, maybe to bring the problem, the attention to these kind of problems. And you can rent, swap, and buy secondhand, which is becoming very popular here. Also, the idea of renting clothes, especially in Northern Europe, is very popular. I remember a Polimoda student coming from Denmark and being shocked by the idea that she couldn't find in Florence a place to rent a dress for a night out. Like, I'm not supposed to buy a dress to wear it only once. I want to rent it. No? So the mentality is already changing. mend, make, and customize. So as a future designers, you will learn how to make clothes. So that's already a good starting point. Donate responsibly. So asking your organizations you donate to where the clothes are going to avoid them finishing in a mitumba and polluting other countries. Express yourself, show you care, talk about these topics, all the new things that you've learned today. Use social media to raise awareness. And the last that I think it's important is make yourself a simple promise to keep. Okay, just one thing. Do not just want to be the most sustainable person on earth from day 1 to day 2. But just say, okay, so from now I'm staying, I don't know, 1 month without buying fast fashion, okay? Or I want to download some apps to try and buy and sell secondhand to prolong the life of my garments. Instead of throwing them away, maybe I can just find someone who wants to give a new life to them, no? Or so. So these are just some actions, and so this is the suggestions that I can give you to be more sustainable every day.
Thank you, Arianna.
Thank you very much. So, questions, thoughts?
So guys, please write your questions in chat. We still have lots of time to, some time to discuss those. Arianna, can I ask you to move to the previous slide?
Yes. Oops. I don't know what I did. 1 second. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So about the meanings of fashion and the meanings of action, as still we have, I'm assuming that most of our attenders are designers. Are you guys? If you are a designer, please put plus in the chat. My thinking is, thank you, Polina. My thinking is that the goal of the fashion designer of the future is to educate the consumer. So, because yes, we are designers, we don't want to produce too much clothes. We want to be slow, we want to be small, we want to be sustainable as much as we can. But how can we do that if the consumers don't want to? We have here in Russia, we have a couple of examples of such designers who create their clothes. And there is a denim designer, I can't remember the name right now, but she reuses denim, and she's asking her customers to bring old denim for her to reuse it in exchange for discount, or just remake something out of the clothes that already exists. And the problem that she met, people don't want to do that. So they just simply don't bring things because they don't want to. Mm-hmm. They prefer better to go to H&M and get a larger discount and buy more than to get something made to measure but expensive.
No, but I get it. Like, I think it's a very good point. And I also wouldn't ever blame the people for doing so. Okay, so you know, it's a matter of mentality. It's a matter of questioning the way we're used to doing things. It's a matter of like changing. It's a matter of awareness. So I really hope that maybe after like this lecture, some of you guys will think about fashion in a slightly different perspective. Maybe also the thing that we shared before, the information about the cost of the t-shirt. No, I'm always happy when I get very shocked reactions, because I hope you remember that moment of shock, and then you work around it to create something different. No, a positive shock with your works and your design. So I think that the reason why people don't donate the clothes to that designer and just go to a fast fashion when they can buy more, or just order bulk things on Shein so they just can be very different every day. This need is created by the social acceptance idea, of you're successful and you're cool if you are always very fashionable, if you wear something different every day, if you show different looks, etc., etc. So until this trend is not like changed in the mind of the consumers, the sustainable behaviors will be difficult, to accept. Also, another thing is that fast fashion, for example, is designed to be very convenient to you as a choice. The shops are very big, they are easy to find, you just go there, you find everything you need at once. It costs such a small amount of money, so you have choice, you have something new every now and then. So now one of the identities that I have and I didn't tell you about is I am a mother of a kid which is 6-year-old, and I try to do sustainable choices for myself because I can afford it and I really care about it. But I also try to make sustainable choices for what he wears, because children are very unsustainable beings because they grow up. They grow up and they very fast, so they need more clothes and more clothes, and also they tend to destroy the clothes, playing and everything. So I have to buy continuously things for him, and it's impossible to think that I buy only from small local brands that produce independently, because I can't spend 100 euros on a garment that will last for 2 months, okay, or it will be destroyed. And I don't want to buy fast fashion but it would be so easy to go to H&M and just buy 10 pair of pants and 10 sweaters, or to Zara Kids that makes such fantastic looking stuff, very, very cute, very, very cool for kids. But I don't. So what I started doing is this circle with other mothers, and we swap clothes. So for example, things that mothers have done since forever, now are possible also thanks to digital technologies, so maybe a Telegram or a WhatsApp group with mothers saying, I have a bag of clothes for like a kid of 5-year-old, and I'm interested, I'm gonna collect it, and in exchange I will give you something. So it's a way to elongate, to prolong the life of clothing. Then of course, if I have a special occasion or something, I buy something new for him, and in that case it could be something special and more sustainable. But this is another possible option, so for example, the second life clothing, the second hand market. Make it normal, make it not something that you do because you can't afford new clothing, but because you could, but you don't want. So it's even cooler because you're a person who cares, who gives new life. And as a designer, you can have these pieces and either have them with a curatorial mindset and collector mindset. So choosing from past collections of designers, think how cool. I mean, now that Y2K is so trendy, the early 2000s, you buy a Dries Van Noten piece of 2001, fantastic. It's much better than buying something that is in the stores now. Or you just buy something old and you give it a new life, you rework it, you give it your personality, So it's, very, very interesting and also very, very sustainable.
Thank you. So we have some questions. Yay. Guys, you can write your questions in any language. I can translate it. Yes, Maya, I think we answered that. It's an issue of awareness. Thank you for that. Yekaterina is asking how fashion and personal stylists can help the situation.
Personal stylists can start suggesting also smaller brands, not only the big logos, the big brands, and of course not fast fashion, because something that we didn't talk about is the luxury market. So we only said how fast fashion is evil, but many of the things that we told about, so the idea also of not paying the workers a living wage is something that happens in the luxury brands as well. So there are some that are really behaving well and some others that are not at all. Or that are not transparent or disclosing the information about these, which equals to not behaving well. So I think that I don't want to use the word boycott, no, but we can use the word choose. So we can choose to also like celebrate the unicity as personal stylists, for example, of our client by suggesting to that client some specific brands which are of young makers, of independent brands, and maybe more sustainable.
Thank you. This question from Anushka. How do you think, would it be a trend, can it be a trend that people wear old, shabby, ragged clothes or shoes? Is it cool to do it? Or it's, because I think, and we have another question following that up, but I'll come to it later. So I think it feels like being sustainable can be a privilege sometimes, because it's also about the income, it's what you can afford, and sometimes lots of people cannot afford to work with. Yeah, I'm touching up on Ekaterina's question. So yeah, some people cannot afford to buy from local designers because it's too expensive. And also here in Russia, in the cultural code, we have this trauma of poorness of Soviet Union when we didn't have stuff. So we want to look good, and mending, it's becoming popular here now, but still there is this twist between, like, as a designer, I'm proud to wear something that I mended, even if it's visible, because it's cool. But there are people who who feel ashamed of that. So it's about the privilege, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, you touched so many points. So I feel like there are they are different questions. So the first one, do you think it will be like a trend to go around in ragged clothes? I would love to ask this question to a person of a previous generation, like hypothetically, if she was still alive, my grandma, okay, which I remember when in the 90s I was wearing all these ripped jeans, no? She would propose to me if she could like sew them, to repair them, because she said, I don't know if you notice it, but your jeans are broken. Can I repair it? No? And I was like, no, grandma, it's a fashion. No. So it is already it's already been a trend to go around in ragged clothes, if you think about it. No. So what is the definition of ragged clothes? Like, the aesthetic of destroyed is something that is being seen in the catwalks already, and probably will be prominent also in other periods. No. So what is for sure is that, like, I see the point when you see like about the collective trauma of poorness, the shame of like associating like old and repaired with okay, so you're a poor person and you go around the rags or something like that. And that is also much of a cultural factor. But it's also true that like you can like redefine the aesthetic and the value of repairing. So for example, if you buy something that is absolutely like plain, like a pair of jeans of no brand, and then you repair it with some precious fabrics, then it becomes more precious than it was in the origin, no? Or you make like a fantastic handcraft work. I would have so many examples, like visual examples of this, and this is an aesthetic that here is becoming very, very popular. The idea of like this patchworky accumulation, intricate embroidered kind of aesthetic that tackles into the idea of upcycling and repairing, like making your garments more unique, more ownable, more reflecting your own personality. So if you see it in this perspective, it doesn't connect with the idea of ugliness and poverty and rags anymore, but it's like making things more unique and more personal.
Thank you. So I think that answers Ekaterina's question. The beginning of the question was, what can we do with giants of fast fashion and people who buy there? I'm paraphrasing the question. So I think we kind of answered that.
Yeah, well, actually, there is also another thing that I would like to say about that, and that connects with the idea of privilege that you mentioned. Sorry, I didn't touch it. It's
That's
very true. Like sustainability is also connected with the idea of privilege, because we have a lot of sustainable brands which are actually very pricey, while these brands are bought only by the, I don't know, 10% of consumers that can afford them. And these 10% of consumers are not impacting enough the production system to make all the fashion system sustainable, no? So the real puzzle for, I think, you guys to solve is exactly like the big challenge is this: how can we make fashion more sustainable for everybody? When I say I don't want to blame people who buy fast fashion, is because for so many people this is not even a choice. Like, it's the only option. So, for example, if my salary is low, and in this low salary I have to fit the cost of the rent, the cost of the bills, which is skyrocketing now, the cost of food, and so many necessities. And at the end of the month, I just have like a very small amount left. It's unthinkable that I spend that I subtract, a sensitive amount of my budget, monthly budget, to buy a sustainable piece of clothing. Like, it's not possible, okay, because I have to feed my children, or I have to pay the rent, okay. So and this is the majority of people, so that buy fast fashion. I mean, it's not only like superficial fashion wannabes, it's like the only choice for people that have no other options, no. So the real challenge is how do we make sustainability affordable and feasible for as many people as possible? So it's really also in our, I think that the answer lays in our behavior, not only in the materials that we use or in the cost of the collection. So buying less and keeping for longer, for example, is something that all of us, or mending, that we were saying, is something that all of us can do, and it's more sustainable than continuously buying clothes. And as designers, all the things that we said before, think about circularity, etc., etc.
Thank you. Claudia, that was a useful presentation. Thank you. You have made some discoveries for me about the fashion area. Have you some advices for people who are in profession? Is it real to achieve in future? Will fashion always be about business, or fashion can be done in a different way?
That's a very hopeful question. And fashion will always be a big business. Just think that in Italy, for example, it is the second industry of the country in terms of revenues and in terms of billions that it moves. So it's I would love to tell you, no, of course, now we can build a fantastic utopia, but actually the reality is that fashion is going to be a business, first of all, but who says that we cannot challenge the way we do business? Before I mentioned Patagonia is a company that if you see the actions that they did, always behaved in an incredibly sustainable way, but donating, for example, a lot of money to funding climate change research or doing sustainable actions. It was the first brand to do circular projects, and the latest thing that they did, the founder of Patagonia donated the entire company, okay, to a fund that is dedicated to raising money for the climate change problem. So basically all the revenues of the companies are now going to that fund. And at first, since I am a very cynical person, I thought, okay, they're doing this to like avoid the paying taxes, but that is not the case. Actually, they're really, really good and incredible, but true. So there is some hope to make business in a different way after all.
I really enjoyed their campaign, Don't Buy This Jacket.
Yeah, absolutely. 2011.
Friday recently, yeah.
Yeah, on the first time they did it, it was in 2011 on the day of the Black Friday. They bought some pages on the major newspaper in the United States, and on the day of the Black Friday there was like the giant advertising with a photo of a Patagonia jacket saying "Don't buy this jacket." And after there was all the explanation about why people shouldn't buy a new jacket for the Black Friday.
Yeah, that was amazing. Very hopeful, but still, I feel like it's controversial just because we are the company who sell clothes, but don't buy it, and that makes us think, and that's why it's so brilliant. But then,
they know that the amount they sell already is enough to sustain economically the company, no?
Probably, yeah.
So it's not about continuous growth and continuous profit, but it's what we said in the beginning about balance.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a point of balance.
Great. Guys, do we have any more questions? Feel like no. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up then. Thank you, Arianna. That was really inspiring and eye-opening talk. And we found out so many new ways to look at fashion and to think about what sustainability may mean and how we can deal with that in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to talk with you.